What's going on YouTube? My name is James, the channel is Run Good Life, and today it's the long awaited what does Run Good think of the upcoming Fanatics deals. The news seems to be breaking every day. We seem to be learning new stuff every day about this insane Fanatics deal that is going to turn the trading card industry on its head. And you know, at first when I heard the news about the baseball license and about Topps, I thought about putting something out. And then we started to hear rumbles of potentially basketball and also football. And now the vision is a little bit more clear, and I think it's time for me to drop my video with some insights and my thoughts on this. So in order to start this video, let's talk about the current landscape of the trading card industry right now. So we have 3 big players and we have 4 major sports. I'm not going to be talking so much about soccer, UFC, WWE in this video because as of right now, those contracts are largely unaffected and we don't know what may come in the future. May dabble on them a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk about MLB, NFL, NBA, and of course NHL, which may play into this later on down the line. So as the landscape looks right now, we have Topps, who has both the MLB and the MLB Players Association contracts. We have Panini, who has the NBA and NFL as well as the Player Association contracts. They also have a contract with MLB Player Association, but they do not have a contract with the MLB. And then, of course, we have Upper Deck, who has the NHL license and some exclusive athletes. We're going to talk about those later on. So what does all of this mean? So my understanding is in order to produce trading cards for a sport, you need 2 different things. Well, you need at least one thing, but both things are nice. So with the Players Association licensing, that gives the companies permission to print the players' names on the trading cards. And then with the license for MLB, NBA, or NFL or NHL, that allows them to produce the team logos and team names and things like that. So Panini, for example, let's look at Panini Baseball. Panini has the MLB Players Association contract. They do not have a deal in place with MLB. That's been an exclusive to Topps. What this means is that Panini can produce baseball cards with the player's likeness and their photography and their name, but they cannot include the logos of the teams, or they cannot include the team names. So that's why with Panini Baseball, you see things like just New York instead of New York Yankees. You don't see any Yankees logos, but of course they can do Aaron Judge's name, you know, because they do have that Players Association. So in order to make a unlicensed trading card, you need a Players Association contract. So Panini has that with all 3 sports. Topps has that with all 3 sports. Panini just does not have the MLB license, and Topps does not have the NFL or the NBA license. I'm actually not sure if Topps has a Players Association license with NBA or NFL. I would probably lean no, which is the reason we haven't seen any unlicensed football coming from Topps or unlicensed football or basketball coming from Topps since they lost those licenses a few years back. So Topps has the MLB license. They have the MLB Players Association license, so they can make licensed baseball cards. They lost the exclusives to basketball and football several years ago. I think maybe 2015 was the last year that we saw football, and Chrome wrapped up in 2009, 10, I believe. There might have been a 10, no, there was no, was there a 10-11 Chrome set? I think there was. We had a year there where there was no Chrome and no Prism in basketball, which is why 2012-13 basketball gets a little bit interesting when Panini took the licenses over exclusively. You have a dual rookie year set with some of those 12-13 products. So Panini has the license for MLB, or for NFL and NBA, as well as the Players Association, so they can make licensed trading cards for MLB, or for NFL and NBA. Upper Deck has an exclusive agreement with NHL, so they can produce NHL cards, and nobody else can. Topps does have the right to produce NHL stickers. So that's the lay of the land right now. You do have some exclusives in place, but you also have companies like Panini who do have a way to produce unlicensed baseball cards. Some collectors don't like them because of the lack of logos. Others don't have a problem with them. Topps it is rumored that Topps was getting ready to release their first unlicensed basketball set with Topps Finest upcoming. We did see some athletes signing autographs for upcoming cards, but with this new deal, we still don't know if that set is going to happen or not. So that's the current lay of the land. What Fanatics has done is they have managed to secure the exclusive rights, not just for the MLB, NFL, and NBA licenses. They've also managed to get the exclusive rights to the Players Associations as well. And what that essentially does is it locks Topps and Panini out of being able to create even unlicensed products. They would now be like Leaf, for example. So Leaf is a much smaller trading card company, and they produce a variety of different products, a lot of legends, a lot of baseball prospects, and some off-the-wall stuff. They did a Joe Exotic set, so they also like to dabble in celebrities as well. But they do have a pretty comprehensive lineup of baseball and football. They are a little light on basketball, and the way that they are able to produce cards is through negotiating individually with the players themselves. I believe this. I may be a little bit off here, but I believe that they are allowed to negotiate with the players themselves to use their likeness. But again, because they don't have the MLB or NHL or any of the league licenses, they're not allowed to use logos. So their cards are airbrushed of those. But they can negotiate individually with the players and get them on the cards. And so that is how Leaf is able to make their sets. And Leaf is a much smaller company. They do some really cool looking cards, but again, they are all unlicensed. So in order for Panini or Topps, after this Fanatics deal takes place, which my understanding is in 2023, Fanatics gains the Players Association contract, so they can begin to produce cards, unlicensed cards. And then in 2026, they gain the exclusives for all of these leagues. And that means that they can now produce licensed cards, and they will be the only people or the only company that will be able to produce licensed cards. So if Topps, after 2026, if Topps or Panini wants to produce baseball cards, football cards, or basketball cards, they will need to individually negotiate rights with the players themselves, and then the cards will need to be not feature the team names or team logos. So that's what the landscape's going to look like. Pretty shocking that Fanatics was kind of able to swoop in. I do want to talk about the timing of the deal. The timing is essential because this is a very aggressive move on Fanatics' parts. If you were not aware, Topps has been a privately owned company for several years, I believe dating back to the mid-2000s, maybe 2007, 2008. So they were just getting ready to move public later this year, and I think that was actually going to be in a few weeks with a company called Mudrick Capital. And again, now I'm starting to get into the stuff where I'm not the definitive source, so I'm just kind of going based off of what I know. So with the timing of this deal, I believe that them going public is now dead, and I believe that their Topps has some debt to their name that was recently downgraded in terms of investments and in terms of how investors look at that sort of thing. So this timing basically cut Topps' legs out from under them. Topps has said that they were totally blindsided by these decisions, and apparently there were some rumblings that in the negotiation process for renewing their contract, there was a little, a little friction on both sides, but I believe the general consensus was that Topps believed that they were going to be able to get these licenses back, or that they were going to renew these licenses. They did not expect what just happened, and nobody saw this coming a month ago, right? Like, this was not on anybody's radar. Nobody was talking about licenses, let alone, maybe this could happen to Topps, but how could this happen to Panini? Panini is a much larger, much more valuable company in this industry. Topps, for the last several years, really just more focused on baseball. They do have other IPs. They do have Garbage Pail Kids. They do have soccer. They have UFC and WWE. But baseball is really their driving... That's really what drives Topps. Topps is, associated with Americana. Topps is associated with baseball cards. When you think Topps, you don't think football cards. You don't really think basketball cards, even though they really hit their stride in the 90s and the 2000s. With basketball, Topps is known for baseball. When you hear the word Topps, you think 1952 Mickey Mantle. You think, the list goes on. You think of every iconic card throughout the years. You think of, the Tony Gwynn rookie card. You think of literally any Hall of Fame baseball player. You think of Topps. You think of Bowman Firsts. You think of the Mike Trout update. You think of the Bowman First of any star right now in the league, especially some of the younger stars. Acuna, Soto. You associate that with Topps. So Topps is bread and butter has always been baseball. Panini now is a much larger company. They do way more than just trading cards, and they have more IPs. So they do have UFC, they have soccer, and they have a really big one, which is Fortnite as well, among others. So my consensus right now, looking at this deal with Fanatics, is that Topps is dead in the water to me. With the debt they owe, with this merger, or with this going public deal now dead, I expect Fanatics to buy Topps within the next year to year and a half. I see it as inevitable, and I see that as really the next play for Fanatics. I feel like the timing of this Fanatics deal really feels aggressive to me, as if they don't want to work with Topps in the future. They want to own Topps, and it makes perfect sense for them Fanatics to buy Topps, because as of right now, Fanatics is not a trading card company. They are a apparel and memorabilia juggernaut in the sports industry, and they really do have a monopoly, I feel like. But they don't trading cards right now, so I think there's going to be some interesting decisions made in the future, or more is going to come to light. And if they are able to purchase Topps, which I believe the last time I saw Topps' evaluation as a company was a little over $1 billion. It might be 1.5 billion or something like that. And Fanatics was 40 billion. So Fanatics is a much larger company. I fully expect Fanatics to purchase Topps. And when that happens, we're going to be in for some really awesome stuff. So let's talk, before we get into what could come and we start spitballing some ideas out there, let's talk about Fanatics and Panini. So I think that Panini has shown a ability to pivot far more than Topps. If Topps had a ability to pivot, we would have seen unlicensed baseball or basketball and football from them. So I really think they put all of their eggs mostly in the baseball basket, with a lot of online exclusives. Lately they've been transitioning a little bit more into soccer. But for the most part, I see Panini as a company that is able to pivot very more easily than Topps. I think that Panini continues forward on producing football and basketball cards in the same vein that Leaf does. I can see them going out and working with the individual players and doing legend sets. And, of course, all of their cards will become far less desirable. Those will be far less desirable. But I feel like Panini isn't going to sell to Fanatics. If Fanatics is able to buy Panini, that would be a real shocker to me. But I don't see that happening. That is my personal opinion. I don't have any expert advice or any expert or inside knowledge or anything like that. My feeling is that Topps is the one that is crippled out of all of this recent information. And even though Panini is losing the NFL and MLB or NFL and NBA rights, I think they're going to be able to pivot away from this, and I think that they're going to be able to move into bigger mediums. Panini's a much bigger company. They've shown an ability to react to the market, and I think Panini is going to carry on. I feel like Panini is going to find a way. They will push soccer harder. They will push UFC harder. They may make a play for the WWE license. We are in a kind of a golden era for wrestling right now, with AEW is a startup company that is sharply on the rise, securing stars like CM Punk, who was away from wrestling for 7 years and came back to one of the loudest ovations in wrestling history. So there is like a great renaissance of professional wrestling right now, similar to the 90s with WWF and WCW. So I can see Panini getting more aggressive in the professional wrestling. They could go after some Japanese stuff as well. They're going to continue into UFC. They can go into boxing. So I think that This is going to hurt Panini, obviously, but I think in the long run, after 2026, we will still see Panini producing cards of all varieties, including football and basketball. Just they will be unlicensed, and they will be a lot like Leaf. But I do expect Fanatics to purchase Topps, and then when that happens, I do expect Topps brands to carry on. If that happens, I don't think we'll see any Fanatics specific Fanatics branded trading cards. So let's say that Fanatics does not acquire Topps. They don't buy Upper Deck. They don't acquire Panini. They don't acquire any other card companies, and they decide to make their own card company. That seems like a lot of work, and they're going to have to establish not just the logistics of printing cards, creating cards. They're going to have to start all of these new brands as well. And it's going to take a few years for collectors to really latch onto ones and kind of create a tier list of, the brands that are the most popular. Right now we have, for basketball, we have Optic, we have Prism, we have Select, we have National Treasures. We have all these great sets, and they all come from Panini. But sitting in that heritage, sitting in that history is all of those great top sets. All those old sets. Trademark moves, obviously we have Topps and Topps Chrome, Topps Finest. So all of the baseball sets that you know now can easily be applied to basketball and football again. A lot of those were sets. Topps Supreme was a set similar to like Crown Royal, what we know as Crown Royal nowadays. So there are all these old sets that Topps used to be able to produce for basketball and football that just don't exist anymore. So we could have Triple Threads basketball, we could have Triple Threads football, and this is all I'm talking about as if Fanatics does acquire that Topps license. So for me, the natural move right now for Fanatics would be to purchase Topps, because you do get all of that history and all of that heritage, all of those old sets that longtime collectors are familiar with, and newer collectors are at least familiar with the sets if they don't collect baseball. So there are all of those baseball products that are out right now that can easily be applied over to football and basketball. Of course, you have Sapphire, which is a super, super popular chromium set. Could you imagine Topps Chrome Sapphire NBA? I think that the idea of just Topps Chrome coming back, really only over the last, I want to say, probably the last 3 years has Prism really prominently rose and really overtaken Chrome as like the king of the basketball card. When I want to talk about some little history right now. So when Topps lost the basketball license, Prism was was supposed to be the set that replaced Chrome. Chrome was beloved in the hobby, and Chrome still is beloved in the hobby, especially all the older Chrome basketball, and for Chrome baseball right now, beloved in the hobby. But when Prism came, Prism wasn't what it was in 2020, 2013, what it is now. Prism was met with a lot of hesitation, and I remember back in 2012, I worked for ComC, Check Out My Cards. And I remember when the product came out, and I'm around 40 people who were all card lovers, and nobody was sold on this product. It was like, okay, well, this is supposed to be the new Topps Chrome. And I remember people just not wanting to even buy it for $80 a box. And we are talking about 1213 Prism, which nowadays is like the most fabled, kind of the grail, sealed. If you have it sealed, it's kind of a grail. Gold refractors are grails. Even PSA 10 base cards are iconic. So this is back then. It took a few years really for Prism to really latch on. And so the thought of going back to Chrome after all of these years, I think that that's a net positive. If this were to happen, if Fanatics were to buy Topps and we were to get all of these top sets that we know now and we knew then in basketball and in football, I think that that's a net positive. So if you want my opinion, it's still really early to tell, but I'm going to feel a whole lot better about this Fanatics deal if they acquire Topps. And I know I've talked about this a lot. If they don't acquire Topps, I'm a little more hesitant on it, because now if they don't acquire any of these older brands, we really don't know what to expect. We really don't know what a Fanatics set would look like. We don't know what Fanatics would do. We would presume they would do, base stock cards similar to flagship, tops, or, and then they would have their chromes, they would have their high-end sets like National Treasures, but they would all be brand new to the hobby. They would all be new sets. An interesting thing, before I move on to some other ideas I have, an interesting thing here right now is Upper Deck and Leaf, up to right now, are largely unaffected by this whole thing. So if I was them, and there was no indication with Upper Deck that the NHL license was in danger, I'd be feeling pretty good right now. Now, if they do lose the NHL license, Upper Deck does have a lot of IPs with, like, Marvel, and they do some of their own stuff. They also have exclusive athletes, and this is where it gets real interesting. So they have exclusive athletes like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Connor McDavid, Tiger Woods. I think they also have Ben Simmons as well. And so with these exclusivity contracts with them, it's the reason why we don't see Michael Jordan cards in Panini products. It's the reason we don't see LeBron autos in Panini products as well. So if for some reason, if Fanatics was able to purchase Upper Deck, we could potentially see the return of licensed Michael Jordan cards and autographs. Because again, remember, Upper Deck does not have the NBA license, so they cannot make Michael Jordan or LeBron cards in their uniforms, in their jerseys. They always have to be airbrushed. If Upper Deck was to be purchased by Fanatics, I assume that we could get all of those old Upper Deck sets, like Exquisite Collection, which was a super high-end set, like SPX Basketball, like all of those old sets as well. I believe that we could get those back, and we could potentially get back licensed LeBron and Michael Jordan autographs, which would be a huge get for basketball cards. We could also get Upper Deck Baseball, because Upper Deck did produce baseball. So I really think the key to this deal is Fanatics either acquiring Topps or Upper Deck. I don't believe they'll be able to get Panini. Another interesting dynamic to this whole thing is what happens with distribution. What does distribution look like? So right now in the trading card world, there are a bunch of different distribution companies that help distribute product to hobby shops, and mostly hobby shops and breakers and bigger entities in the hobby. You have to have a business license to be in with these companies, and nowadays you really have to, it's really, really hard to catch on with distribution companies. But the way, and again, I'm kind of spitballing here because I don't know the entire inner workings of, like, the trading card distribution network, but my understanding is the card companies themselves sell let's call them factory. They distribute to, or they sell to distributors, and distributors are the ones who allocate product around, it should be based off how much you buy. So you guys know that I run my group breaks. I'm set up as a business here in the state of Washington. So I do have an account with GTS, and I've been trying to get in with a couple others, but like I said, it is very, very tough to get in with these companies. So GTS, for example, I basically, as a newer account, I'm allowed to purchase from them at around market value. Sometimes they run some sales that are a little bit under market. For the most part, I'm allowed to purchase from them at around the prices you would expect to find on a website like Blowout or Dave & Adams or Steel City. And again, sometimes there's some pretty good deals, but usually not. So depending on how much I purchase from them, I can also earn allocations of newly released products at close to distribution cost. So there's essentially two costs. There's three costs. There's a factory cost, which is what Panini sells the product to distributors at. And then there's a distributor cost, which is what distributors sell to card shops and breakers and businesses within the trading card industry, or within the hobby. So the way to earn allocation, it's called allocation. So in order to get distributor prices, you have to be allocated products. In the past, it typically wasn't a problem, but with the recent rise in how popular the hobby is and how pricing, and I've talked about this a lot, with how pricing is these days, and with the price of hobby boxes up several times what they were in previous years, you do have to earn allocation now if you are a newer if you're a newer business. If you're an older business and you've been doing business for years, there's a very good chance that you have high allocation numbers. So maybe you request 3 cases of Panini Prism basketball, and maybe you get 2, or maybe you get all 3, and you get them at the distribution cost, which is significantly lower than the secondary market cost, which is, when I say secondary market, I'm talking about what the prices that you see on like Blowout or Panini's own website or Dave & Adams or Steel City, etc. Basically what an average consumer would pay. So the path right now to earning these allocations as a newer business is very tough to impossible. You have to spend several $1,000s a week for several months, and then if you're lucky, you may get 1 box of a product at a much lower distribution cost. So with this Fanatics deal in place, Fanatics already has a very, very strong distribution network. So if I was a employee, or I was a CEO or an executive or a manager or somebody in a high level at a distribution company right now, I would be very worried, because it looks like Fanatics may just be able to cut them out entirely, which is very, very interesting. And if you're a newer business in the hobby, and there are a lot of new businesses in the hobby, this is potentially very, very appealing to them. And it's also very, very scary to older businesses who have existing partnerships with distribution companies and direct accounts with Topps and Panini themselves, because presumably in a few years direct accounts with Topps and Panini are done, and presumably we don't know what's going to happen with distribution companies. But if I was a distribution company, I would be very, very worried right now that, you know, essentially they're a middleman. And with this Fanatics deal, with the infrastructure that Fanatics has, it's very, very likely that Fanatics would be able to cut them out, or cut them significantly out. Maybe they can't cut them all the way out, but they could significantly cut them out. Now, there are a lot of people worried with this Fanatics deal. You know, what's going to happen to the LCS? Is Fanatics just going to go 100% in business for themselves, kind of like with what they've done with apparel? I think overall, you know, this Fanatics deal is being ran, you know, spearheaded essentially by Josh Luber, who basically ran StockX up until, I think, last year he exited StockX. And Josh, one thing that I know about Josh, and I've sat in a meeting with Josh, and in a previous business deal, I sat in a meeting with Josh at the 2019 National, and mostly just listening, not really talking. Josh loves trading cards, and Josh understands the LCS is role, your local card shop's role. I think he understands how everybody's roles work in the trading card industry. And so I don't think with this Fanatics deal, the intent is to just kill the local card shop. I do think that Fanatics will find a way to hopefully find a fair way to make sure that LCSs and breakers do continue to get product. But I also think that with this deal, there is a great chance for Fanatics to basically hit a reset button on the entire distribution network, and make it a little bit more fair for people. Now, I don't know if this means there's going to be lower prices for collectors. You know, I don't know if we're ever going to see the $100 Topps Chrome equivalent hobby box again. I have a feeling that those days are long, long gone. At least as long as trading cards remain popular. But I do think that Fanatics will find a way to make sure that cards get in the hands of the people who want to open them. And I do think that Fanatics will do everything they can to foster a healthy trading card community, a healthy trading card hobby. You know, they have paid a ton of money for these licenses. So the last thing that they want to do, you know, I think if I was Fanatics, I would recognize that, you know, I've already put a lot of questions out there for the future of trading cards. And this may cast some doubt with some collectors who are wondering what the future looks like, wondering what the value of their cards right now looks like. Maybe some hobby shops are a little concerned. You know, maybe hobby shops that get really good allocation numbers from distributors would have reasons to be concerned, because you don't know what the future looks like in 2026. And I get that. But I think at the end of the day, shakeups are good. And I think that Panini and Topps got very, very complacent. I think they got extremely complacent. And maybe it was because they couldn't handle all of this new business they've seen with the, the boom, the return of, the second great amazing era of trading cards. We haven't seen excitement and we haven't seen activity like this since the 80s into the 90s. So we're really in a huge period of revitalization in the trading card industry. Maybe they just couldn't handle that. They didn't know how to adapt to that. They got very complacent. I've talked about this. Topps seems very lazy lately and very non-innovative with their ideas. And this is just my opinion. They do some innovative stuff, but I've just kind of felt like Topps is just kind of, every year is the same. And Panini, we all know about Panini's issues, right? You get a redemption, good luck getting it. Quality control issues, prices absolutely through the roof. So that Panini is not without its issues. So both companies have issues. Both companies got complacent. And Fanatics saw an opportunity. And Fanatics swooped in. But Fanatics is paying all of this money. They're not going to be anti-consumer. I can tell you that. They need to recoup their investment. And they are going to be in this game for 20 years, if not longer. So what they will want to do early on is build goodwill with the hobby and build goodwill with the community. They're going to want to hit some home runs very, very early on to gain collectors' trust and make sure that the industry itself is very, very stable in their initial years as they navigate through these contracts and navigate through being basically the monopoly in the trading card industry. So, do I think that Fanatics is going to be out to close down every LCS in the world? No, not at all. I think they will have their own distribution network. So I think the people in the hobby who should be most worried right now are the distributors and the people who have direct accounts with Panini and Topps. But overall, I think that this is going to be I think it's going to be a net positive, guys. I think overall this is going to be a great thing. We've seen shakeups in the past in the industry. This isn't super uncommon. It is happening all at once. And that is a little scary. I'm not going to lie. It's a little scary how fast it happened and how one company, it's like Thanos with the rings, right? Or Thanos with the stones, right? He's got the gauntlet. Fanatics has the gauntlet right now. And Panini and Topps are on the verge of disappearing. But trading cards aren't going anywhere. Like, we're always going to have trading cards. We're always going to have licensed trading cards. We're always going to have the next pack or the next box to open. It just is going to depend on whose logo is on that box and what the name of those boxes are. But, I mean, I've seen some rumblings online about Fanatics having bad customer service and blah, 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 blah. It's just too early to say right now. I'm gonna throw all of that out the window about people's experiences with Fanatics. Because we don't know what the trading cards look like. And we don't know if they're going to be printing their own trading cards. We don't know if there's more to this and they're going to be acquiring Topps or Panini or Upper Deck. Again, my money is on them acquiring Topps and us getting sets back like Topps Chrome Football and Topps Finest Basketball, and nothing changing in terms of that. I don't think that we're going to see 2026 Fanatics. I don't even know what you want to call it. Fanatics Metal, Fanatics Aluminum, Fanatics Gold. I don't think we're going to see like a Fanatics branded, all these new Fanatics branded sets. I really honestly believe that at the end of the day, we're still going to have Topps or maybe even Panini. I do think that all of these sets, that some of these sets that we love are still going to exist in some form. I think even if Panini gets shut out entirely of the NFL and the NBA, if they don't get bought by Fanatics, we're still going to probably have Prism still in UFC, so the iconic Prism set still going to exist in some form, maybe even in an unlicensed fashion like I talked about with how Leaf produces cards. So, either way, I think my gut instinct says Fanatics is going to buy Topps. This move was too aggressive and it was too well timed to not be a death blow to Topps going public. So That is my bold... I don't even think it's a bold prediction. I think that it's very likely. It would be a bold prediction for me to say Fanatics will buy Panini or Fanatics will buy both. I do think Fanatics will buy one or the other. And for the most part, aesthetically, even though the cards will now be coming from Fanatics, they will still be branded under a name that we know and love and trust. And things like this happen all the time. Mergers and acquisitions exist all the time, and brands continue onward, and most of the time people don't know the difference. People don't know what companies have been bought by, huge players like, Amazon or Google, because the company just continues to exist, but under the management of a company. So I really honestly believe that Topps is going to be bought by Fanatics. Topps is going to continue. All the baseball, all the basketball, all the football cards are going to be branded under Topps. That's my take. And I think this is a good thing. I think that there's reasons to be concerned. I think that in the next few years, it will be very interesting to watch the, what happens to modern cards as we know them now, what happens to the values, what happens to sealed product, finding, a Topps Chrome hobby box nowadays that just so expensive, right? Like some of the iconic sets, like the 08-09 with the Kobe and LeBron. I mean, those are grails right now. Is that going to happen? Is there going to be great hoarding of 18-19 Prism basketball, Luka year, 1920 Zion year, 17 Mahomes year for Prism, already insane. Is that going to happen with baseball? Is that, is presumably Topps baseball going to be hoarded, and the values of those boxes start to even skyrocket even higher, because already we're seeing Tatis year, Vladdy year 18 and 19, even 20 is starting to come up. Are those prices going to go as high as, say, 2010, which is Trout's rookie year? And then are those boxes going to go up? So I think there's a whole lot of speculating that can be done, and that's all we're going to do for the next foreseeable future until we know more. 2026 is a very, very long way away, and so we have a lot of time to see how this is going to shake out. I know we got a lot of information all at once, now knowing that Fanatics will be producing, the only game in town that will be producing licensed football, basketball, and baseball cards after 2026, and as early as 2023 unlicensed, because they will have the MLB Players Association licensing. It's going to be a fun time in the industry. Trading cards are not going away. They're not disappearing. And I have to largely presume that once the smoke has settled and the dust is cleared and we have a very clear vision of the landscape of the hobby moving forward, I really believe that trading cards will look a lot similar to what we expect now. The only real caveat is they will all be Fanatics branded, or they'll all be under the Fanatics umbrella, but I firmly believe that we're going to have Topps Chrome back for basketball and football, and that Topps, which to me, if I was looking at it, the casual collector, even if you don't collect cards, and you ask, a mom, a dad, a grandma, what Topps is, is that baseball cards? So I think it makes the most sense for Fanatics to buy Topps and brand everything as Topps, and maybe that's a little bit weird, but that's how I see it playing out. And I know this video went long. I know a lot of people really, really wanted this reaction video from me, really wanted my thoughts. I knew it was going to be a very, very long upload, so my apologies. If you're still sitting here 30 plus minutes in, you are a real one, and I thank you for that. That's going to do it for me today. We'll get back to a rip or something tomorrow. We got to do these rips while we still have them, because who knows, maybe in 2026 we will be ripping some Fanatic set that we've never heard of yet that doesn't exist. But that's going to do it for me. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and we will get on back to a normal video tomorrow. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time on Down the Road.